So there are 6 steps into developing self-awareness, and I've gotten these steps from the book called Insight by the author TASHA URICH. And is that we look at our values. So I've discussed this before. So your values is basically what's important to you and what are your guiding principles. So for example, you could have a mantra that says honesty is the best policy. I'm always going to be honest. I'm never going to lie about the state of affairs. And if, for example, somebody is treated unfairly, I'll always revert to the principles of justice. They're guiding principles in your life, their values. Third insights are our passions and our aspirations. And your passions, what you love. For me, it's like law and sport. And then your aspirations is what you aspire to be. Do you aspire to be somebody who is a leader in the community? Would you rather just maintain the status quo? What is your aspirations in life? Sorry, the fourth is fit. So that means that you understand the environment you operate in. So I don't just mean like, this is my bedroom, this is the environment I operate in. Yeah, it actually does mean that actually. So there's 2 things. So there's like your own personal environment and how you choose that environment. Like, do you want to live with people? Do you want to live on your own? Do you want to be in a relationship? Do you want to live with your parents? Do you want to have like brightness or darkness, and what kind of colors do you want? That all influences your mood and your feelings depending on what your preferences are. And then what country do you want to live in? What city do you want to live in? Because as I said, that will influence your attitude. If you grew up in a neighborhood that was like, okay, nobody snitches on each other. If there's a crime, nobody tells the police. That is going to thwart your relationship with justice, because you'll see the justice system as something that doesn't help you. You'll see it as something as kind of to stay away from or evade. So your relationship with justice will be thwarted, and that'll feed into your principles and that'll feed into your self-awareness, because your behaviour will be a certain way if you grow up in one of those places. Then the 6th is our reactions. So our emotional and physical behaviours we exhibit in certain circumstances. So for example, if somebody suddenly snaps when they're under pressure, we say that this is their shadow side coming out, and that's actually their true personality. They're just being tested. It's basically when somebody does something out of character, and we're like, God, like I never thought that person was like that. And then if you actually go and talk to them, they're like, no, that's what I'm like. I'm just controlling my emotions. And inhibitors to self-awareness are knowledge, emotional and behavioral blindness. So knowledge blindness is you actually think that you're very good at something and objectively you're not. And no, it's a bad example. I was going to say driving. I know I'm a bad driver, but sometimes when I'm on my own in the car, I think I'm a good driver. But then when I'm with other people, I know I'm a bad driver. But that's not blindness, because, well, yeah, it actually is kind of blindness. When I'm on my own and I don't have somebody else to, like, for feedback, and I'll come to feedback later, I think I'm the best driver in the world. But when somebody's in the passenger seat, I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst driver ever. Emotional blindness is when you're just oblivious to your own feelings. And then is behavioural blindness. So for example, if you smoke or you binge eat and you have no recollection of like how you got to the cigarette or how you got to the food, that's behavioural blindness. Okay, so introspection is important for self-awareness, but it can also be detrimental if you have a tendency towards anxiety and rumination. If one of your guiding principles or values is that you're an honest person and you did something dishonest, and you're somebody who introspects a lot, ruminates a lot, that's going to be like self-flagellation for you, because it'll be completely at odds with what you expect from yourself. Rather, an introspection that would be successful in that regard would be to say, okay, I'm an honest person. I did a dishonest thing, but I'm also human. I was tired, I was lazy, I was selfish, and all of those are human traits. I don't know why I did that in the moment. I also don't care why, because if I'm going to ask myself why, I'm going to be here all night. I know what I did, but I also know that I'm human. And what you do is you forgive yourself for those things. And but you take on board what happened so that for next time, it's not going to be the same result. It's like flexible introspection. You're not beating yourself up, because for so many years, people have been so hard on themselves, and I was one of those people as well. And if there's one thing I've learned from this COVID experience, is that we're constantly in flux. We're constantly like waves of emotion, thoughts and feelings. Our moods are changeable depending on what our environment is. Like, we're in an environment now where we're not like completely in control, and that can influence how we feel. So the moral of the story is, rather than saying to yourself, I need to be a certain way, come from a place of compassion and forgiveness, and that will actually strengthen your self-awareness, because it won't be such a dangerous place to go to in your mind when you're looking at your failings, because we just label them failings, and it's just part of being human. It really, really is. It's not weakness, it's not strength, it's not anything. Just stop labeling it. Just say to yourself, okay, I know what I want. I know the kind of person I really want to be, and I'm going to be going towards it. Eventually, I'm not there yet, and that's kind of forgiveness. The last thing I'm going to say in this video is to constantly ask for feedback. There's no harm in it. It can only help you, especially if you are not risk adverse like me. I am super paranoid of coming across as overly confident, oversure of myself, and missing vital data because I'm blindsided to risk. So I am constantly asking people, do you like what I'm putting out? Do you think I could do better? I defer to the more deliberate and prudent people in my circles, because I know that their personality traits have a stronger tendency towards risk, and I don't. So I know my weakness, but I also know that my strength is that I am an optimist. So it's a balancing act. For all my optimism, I do need to ask people, okay, what am I missing here? Because I probably am missing something, because I'm just so damn optimistic. So you need to ask yourself, are you somebody who always looks for the problems, or in the opposite extreme, you see no problems at all? And as I said, I fall down very heavily on the I see no problems at all side. And you have to ask yourself where you fall there. And once you have that type of awareness, when you go into a job interview, you can be very candid and be like, one of my weaknesses is I'm an optimist to the point that I don't see some of the risks involved, but I would defer to my colleagues who are more prudent and wary and deliberate for their response first before jumping in. And that shows incredible self-awareness, and that would impress any employer, because it's somebody who has done the introspection and has the maturity to analyze it and show insight. So hopefully that debunked self-awareness a little bit. It took me a while to really grasp the concept and learn it properly. Now that I've done it, I feel much better for it, and it strengthened my relationships with my colleagues, and also means that when I go to a job interview, I can be very frank about my strengths and weaknesses, because that's something HR always ask. So yeah, I'll just remind you of the quote, to thine own self be true. And we have the time now during COVID to learn more about ourselves, so take the opportunity while you have it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.